Another day, some more trade drama between Trump and China, and Bitcoin is still holding at a very important level. In today's video, we'll be going over exactly that, talking about the recent developments in the trade war and how this impacts the price action of Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First of all, let's address Bitcoin. As we can see on this chart, we are still holding 91.8K as support, which is a crucial level for Bitcoin to hold if it wants to go ahead and move higher. Now, today is a red candle, so you do need to be cautious of that. But what we can see is that we actually wicked below the level, held it as support, and then we moved on higher. If we take a look at the 4-hour time frame, we can see this a little bit more clearly as we zoom into the chart. 91.8K did hold as support, and this was a potential short-term long here, holding this level as support and then moving to the upside. Now, the question is, will we end up rolling down lower? The trade war would suggest that yes, potentially that is the case. Now, taking a look at Bitcoin here, we really want to just hold above this level and above the top of the bull market support band. But as I mentioned in my previous videos, we want to get above $96,000 and really hold there as support, especially on the weekly chart. If we take a look at the weekly chart here, we can see that yes, we are above 91.8K, which is the first milestone, but right above here is where we really want to get, well within that existing range on the weekly time frame. For now though, if the weekly candle ends up closing below 91.8K, I would actually start to get a little bit worried that we would roll back down over. And of course, if the candle closes back in this bull market support band and back below the 200-day moving average, which as you can see here is this blue line, that would ultimately not be positive for Bitcoin for the weeks to come. We'll have to assess how it plays out, but in the short term, yes, there are a lot of short-term trading opportunities. And that reminds me, if you want to trade this volatile market, you can click the first link in my description down below, which brings you directly to weeks where you can earn a 20% deposit bonus. That means that if you deposit, for example, $5,000 into your week's account, you would get $1,000 back for free for trading. This is up to $2,000 in terms of the reward that you can get. And based on your trading volume, you can earn up to $28,000. It's the first link in my description down below, and all you need to sign up is an email and a password. Now let's get into some of the tariff stuff. So Trump yesterday came out and said that they are talking to China basically every day. China came out today and said that China and the US have not held any trade discussions. All such reports are false. Let's hear what Trump had to say yesterday.
Has there been any direct contact between the US and China on trade at all?
Yeah, of course.
And
Every day.
Mr. President,
So he says every day they've been talking. And from China's perspective, this is what their foreign ministry spokesperson said.
近来美方不断是有消息称中美之间正在谈判，甚至将会达成协议。请问您能否证实双方有没有开始谈判？
这些都是假消息。据我了解，中美双方并没有就关税问题进行磋商或谈判，更谈不上达成协议。这场关税战是由美方发起的，中方的态度是一贯的、明确的，打奉陪到底，谈大门敞开。对话谈判必须是平等、尊重、互惠的。
Well, that paints a different picture. He clearly said that this trade war was launched by the US and no deals or negotiations have been made. The talks have not been positive. So it's interesting to see that Trump said the complete opposite here. China effectively just denied all of the claims of any trade deal in the making. So how do we progress from here? Well, moments after this, Trump came out and said that they actually had a meeting this morning and that it doesn't matter who is actually meeting between both parties. And when this was announced in the short term, stocks pumped a little bit and so did Bitcoin. But at this current time, the Bitcoin daily candle is red, so you do need to be careful here. Hopefully, we can continue to hold 91.8K as support. But as I said, if this level does not hold as support, I wouldn't be surprised to see a massive dump for Bitcoin, at the very least coming all the way down to the 200-day moving average, but much more probable coming all the way down back to this all-important orange zone that we've been talking about on the channel between 86.5 to 87.5K. As always, if you want to trade this price action, you do have the first link in my description down below, bringing you directly to weeks, and all you need is that email and password to sign up. Now, stocks, as I'm recording this video, are still very much green on the day, as we can see a pretty big green candle. But what you need to consider here in the more medium term is that they are still also very much below their 200-day moving average, which is all the way up here, this blue line right around $5,750 for the S&P 500. In Bitcoin's case, we can see that we're still well above the 200-day moving average. So does this mean that Bitcoin is truly decoupling? Or will Bitcoin see some further downside? Let's see how it develops, but in terms of how the trade war is going, let's take a look at some of the facts. Today marks day 15 of President Trump's 90-day reciprocal tariff pause. This means the pause is now 17% complete without a single trade deal announced yet. The market is still waiting for a deal. And this is exactly why I don't think we got an insane pump for stocks breaking back above the 200-day moving average. Remember, if I zoom out on this chart, we can see that the last time stocks broke convincingly below their 200-day moving average, we got an even deeper correction. And as we can see here, it was right around here where we got that first death cross. And from that level, we ended up pumping a little bit, and then we ended up dropping another 25% for stocks. So I'm not saying that the correction will get that severe, but usually it would happen in waves where we get some kind of relief pumps only to go ahead and move down lower. But as you know on this channel, I am mostly into crypto, and so I am still very much looking at Bitcoin. For now, we're holding above 91.8K. It's looking relatively positive, but you really need to pay attention to this level, especially if you're trading this market. Now, the next thing I quickly want to go over is Trump's 145% tariffs on China. He said, I haven't brought it down. I said it's a high tariff, but I haven't brought it down. Trump reiterates that if a deal is not made, tariffs will be set. This is why you always need to be careful to what you're listening to, because a lot of the times the Financial Times or even the Wall Street Journal go ahead and say things that aren't factually correct. And even on this channel, we've covered some of those things. But be careful, because until these trades actually materialize, there could be some further downside. I'm just warning you and telling you how I'm navigating this market. In terms of longing Bitcoin, I am relatively cautious still, despite breaking above the 91.8K level. Remember, there's nothing wrong with protecting your capital. And there's only two more quick things that I want to discuss in this video. So the CME Group is going to launch XRP futures trading on May 19th, 2025. This is huge for XRP holders. Personally, I think that XRP is a centralized shitcoin, but for XRP holders, this is amazing news for you. Then the last thing that I really wanted to go over is taking a look at the total crypto market cap. Why am I bringing this up again? Well, we were covering the RSI over here and talking about the fact that it could potentially flip bullish right around these lows. And as we can see, we are getting a little bit of a pump. Now, what you want to look at here is it going to be a sustained pump taking us back all the way up to these higher levels, or will we just end up chopping around the lows as seen over here? What I'm looking at here in terms of price action would be to continue making sure that we're above this turquoise box, but I know that $3 trillion is a heavy resistance level for the total crypto market cap. So take a look at this. If we break above $3 trillion convincingly, I would then be favoring all the way up to $3.64 trillion, which is the all-time high. And then for this cycle, as more money gets injected into the economy, we go from quantitative tightening to quantitative easing, hopefully in the upcoming months. I would imagine that the total crypto market cap can go way higher, potentially even doing a 2x, going as high as $7 trillion. That is just my own prediction. And when I say 2x, I mean 2x from the previous all-time high. As we can see, we held support in this box, which is ultimately very positive, and now we are approaching a very important resistance level. Let's see how it materializes, but you also need to consider the previous range from last year, and that range is right around here. We ended up chopping around and made lower highs and lower lows. And then we ended up getting that massive breakout to the upside. So potentially we are in for something similar like this, although I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. And that sums up today's quick video. At this point in time, it's very difficult to know what is real news and what is fake news. Trump comes out and he says, negotiations with China are going very well. Things are looking extremely positive. And then China says the complete opposite. Only time will tell until there's actually a trade deal on the table, signed, confirmed. I will not believe everything that I read. And I will make sure to keep you updated with the most up-to-date news on this channel. Also, just to address a quick little comment, I saw someone say that I'm getting into too many political matters, but ultimately the only reason why I'm covering this kind of content on my channel is because, as you probably know, it really impacts crypto prices. So it's my duty to cover these things as well. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.